Hello, everybody. Welcome today in our call. It's my great pleasure to welcome in this part of the Frogeex Green Tech Lives, Mr. Bernardo Scheikman, the founder and CEO of Smart Cities Americas, and also our dear colleague and also a network member, Carl Welty from Carl Welty Architects. And today, you saw it also in the tagline, our topic is smart and green cities. Now, these are really the two people that you should be talking to when this is the subject. And let me just give you a little introduction on why are we going to talk about smart and green cities today, and why is it such an important topic. So in general, we know the population is growing. We have this highly populated cities and spaces and urban areas that are just growing and expanding, and we have many problems connected to that. We at Frogeex, as a sustainable building and living platform, we specialized on everything around nature, connected to nature, or being connected to nature, nature-based solutions, regenerative architecture. And this is essentially also a little bit the tagline, the bottom line for the speakers of today, and also for Bernardo and Carl, which are going to share more on their perspectives in this topic. And it's also a great pleasure to me to tell you a little bit more about these two gentlemen. Very, very important in this kind of also movement. When talking about Bernardo, let me welcome you first as also a little bit the initiator and also the idea owner of the event and conference, annual event and conference held in Miami, the Smart Cities Americas, which is specialized in looking really at the innovations that are happening in the urban space and how can we make them sustainable. So Bernardo has been having a global role and a global career spanning from Brazil with a background in architecture and urban planning. He has been also gaining his background at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro and later has been also teaching on this university. Bernardo has pioneered new business avenues, ignited disruptive innovation, and led groundbreaking initiatives in real estate, international relations, and B2B events. From founding Smart Cities Americas to the leadership in transformational cultural endeavors up to new standards in the architectural and building sphere, Bernardo has really the expertise and the accomplishments that made him a driving force in shaping a smarter and more sustainable future in the urban area. So with this, Bernardo, I would like to welcome you today. Welcome.
Thank you very much. You did a very interesting introduction. So, first of all, thank you to have me today. Now you are showing the Smart City Miami magazine. We produce the Smart City Miami magazine as a result of the Smart City Expo Miami, because when we bring the speakers, award-winning speakers from our event, we learn about the city's experiences. So during the years, always we produce events about sustainability. Last year, we had sustainable is the new smart. So everybody's talking about sustainable, but we need to make it happen. And then we show during the Smart City Expo Miami, the articles in the Smart City Miami magazine is in fact articles from these presentations during our event. And what we are doing here, we are building the smart city ecosystem in South Florida. We are talking about innovation. We are talking about how we can have a more sustainable environment here because we have challenges. And we understand that we need to use technology to empower, engage citizens and communities. And then we can have better solutions in terms of how let's say, the government take decisions. So that's what we are doing right now. If you like, I can proceed and talk a little bit about Smart City Expo. The Smart City Expo Miami this year, the theme is building sustainable communities. We are going to have a presentation, for example, from the Wood City in Stockholm. Uh, there is an architectural firm that is developing a project about a wood city, and is going to be the largest city using wood for to build everything. Beside of that, we have how we are going to build cities, take consideration kids and women, teenagers. So the focus should be the citizen and how we can grow sustainable our population. Well, beside of that, we are looking for, let's say, we have a global reach. This means that we have in-person event, and then we have online. Okay, usually online we have more than 280 cities participants from 280 cities in 85 countries. Is a global reach. Our speakers come from Germany, Switzerland, France, England, the Netherlands, Spain, Brazil, and of course, US and Canada. We have a speaker from Venezuela. She's going to present how they are building affordable housing in Venezuela. And another interesting thing is we are, let's say, talking about innovation. And we talk about innovation, we bring startups, universities, and also, of course, companies that we can bring together and discuss. So we have a matchmaking event, and this is really very important because we need to bring knowledge for the people to, let's say, think out of the box and start doing different things. One interesting that we have this year, we have the first ever AI summit for mayors. So we are talking about artificial intelligence, and we are going to have a keynote that already published different buildings, books about data, smart city, AI. Our event has 6 innovation areas, and we talk about sustainable growth, we talk about the quality of life, we talk about mobility, and we talk, of course, circular cities, for example, new ideas, new materials, and we have climate, for example. Everybody's talk about climate. We have speakers, we have talks about climate action. And it's very interesting also that we need to have, according to the time that we are living, not talk about just climate. We need to have action. So we need to have resilience. We need to have inclusive and sharing cities. And that's why we are talking about different subjects. And we invite everybody to participate. Thank you.
More than welcome. Now we seem to have a little bit of a technical play over here.
Okay. So the Smart City Miami magazine, you can uh, access if you go to smartcitymiami.com. and you can access online. It's digital. If you'd like to receive a copy, digital copy, you just need to send an email to me. Then I send you the link to download the whole magazine. Okay, and we are every event we publish after the event in the magazine. It's like a book because we learn a lot just reading the magazine. It's very, very interesting. And it's free for everybody. Okay.
Great. Bernardo, just a second, please. Let me unmute you. If you would like to continue, sorry.
Okay. So everybody's invited to download the magazine and also to participate in our event that's going to happen next month. And we have interesting participants from Taipei, from Kiev, okay, from Madrid, from Amsterdam, from Basel, Switzerland, and from Australia, for example. So it's really a global event, and everybody's invited to attend.
Thank you so much, Bernardo, for sharing this. And we will also share the link to download the magazine. You mentioned also a virtual conference. We will certainly hear more about that one because there is, a lot of meta spaces going on, and you have all these new exciting opportunities how we can connect. You also mentioned before this global coverage with something around over 275 cities that are coming. So it's really like a broad global network that is being created there where exchange of ideas is happening, concepts, best practice. You mentioned the wooden city in Stockholm, also a very interesting and exciting topic, as somebody looking at building materials. We love such topics. We love to see, does it make sense to build whole cities like this? What are the pros? What are the negatives? I mean, what is the durability? And when we talk about this, I believe the person to kind of, jump in and tell us more is Carl is already smiling, and I'm sure he knows why, because exactly that's my bridge to you. So I would just share a little bit more info on Carl's background here. And I would just, invite you then to the stage to share a little bit with us your perspective on regenerative architecture, building principles. You're very strong, in terms of passive design. It's one of your like core principles when you design, plan, or advise, consult on developing built environment. So really, really interesting stuff. Those of you that follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube streaming, if you have any questions or comments, we have some questions already in the chat. Just drop it in the comment section. We will cover that in the end of the session today. Now, let me introduce you a little bit about, or tell you more about who you are listening to in terms of Mr. Carl Welty. He is an architectural luminary with a multifaceted career dedicated to pushing the boundaries of innovation and sustainability. He's the principal of Carl Welty Architects, and he brings over a decade of expertise in general architecture services, coupled with a profound specialization in energy efficient design and resilient construction. Throughout his journey, Carl has been a tribalizer in advocating for nature-based solutions and passive solar-oriented designs, resulting in buildings that excel in the performance while nurturing the environment. Carl has also been in the role of a principal at the Claremont Environmental Design Group, and currently is also the acting director of the architecture and planning at the Benning Land Trust. So with this, I would hand over to you, Carl, if that is okay for you. Let's have a look on what you like to share with us in terms of building principles. I'm sure we're gonna see and hear more also on regenerative architecture. And yeah, please let me know, or let us know if you'd like to take the stage now.
Thank you, Jana. Always wonderful to be with you in these great conversations. This is important work. Good morning from sunny, well, rainy California today. So I come from this idea that for the future to reduce our carbon footprint and make the most of Earth's resources is critical for a regenerative, resilient future. I like this idea that when our cities start to look like and function like great cities from ancient cultures constructed before our advanced hydrocarbon economies, we will be on the road to a low carbon ecological civilization. This is a great plan that represents working with solar access and local water sources from India from, well, now 5,500 years ago. Many lessons that are timeless and essential for an ecological civilization. Another example, Greek cities built after 350 BC almost were always oriented to the south, and we orient to the south in the northern hemisphere because the sun is where all energy comes from. And there's much evidence that when one considers this solar orientation, you can make buildings that exceed 50% more efficiency, up to 80% more efficiency. I would make the wild claim that you show me a building that's 80% better than normal, and I will show you a building that's oriented to the sun. There's Socrates. So Socrates, the Greek philosopher, spoke about the importance of orienting cities and homes to the south to provide warmth in the summer, or warmth in the winter, and shade in the summer. If people have ever seen diagrams from passive solar houses from the 70s, they look exactly like this. But it was clear that people understood these rules or these principles 3,000, 4,000 years ago. Moving on in history, modern cities, our idea of modern cities has been influenced by human-centric values. This is a city in Italy, built in 1593. The design is a combination of the idea, the preference for overlaying a geometric order over the landscape, and the necessity for military defense. So this is the source of the radial design city, which to me represents the idea of ignoring nature and overlaying a geometric ordering system over nature at the expense of being more efficient with nature. Another source of the idea of a geometric order comes from the Italian Renaissance. These are two paintings made in the 1400s. They're entitled The Ideal City, but was influenced by the invention of linear perspective in 1413. But the idea of a boulevard, a symmetrical boulevard, an object in the middle of the boulevard, it really comes from this thinking of perspective. It has taken root in our Western culture's idea of what a beautiful city is. The idea of a radial city continues into the 20th century with Epcot Center by Walt Disney in the 60s. But when one looks at a radial city in the context of natural systems, you can see I've highlighted the areas of this radial city that would have ideal solar orientation. It's only 30% of the city. The other point here is that when a city is designed with this geometric order overlaid over nature, then the energy required to support the city and the infrastructure to support the city, specifically stormwater drainage and other infrastructure, is increased. So you can really look at many examples, but so the more a geometric order is overlaid over nature, the more technology and more energy required to support the city. Another alternative, and to me, is represented best in a community designed in Davis, California, and started construction in 1975. So it's a modern version of Greek cities and ancient cities, or the streets are oriented so the houses can be oriented to the south, to the sun. But this is overlaid with a natural drainage system, which has allowed them to collect stormwater now over about 50 years. But this by combining the use of the orientation of the sun and grading the landscape design so they collect the water, they were able to avoid buying concrete drain pipes, which to me represents infrastructure. And literally, because they did not have to buy concrete drain pipes and the cost of installing them, they were able to purchase 300 fruit trees. And now, almost 50 years later, and the combination of these fruit trees and well-organized, well-designed shading, there's many ecological and social benefits. Some residents sort of report getting more than 50% of their food from the site within the fruit trees and gardens, and the effect of the impact on the microclimate. In the summer, this community is 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the city, and the city is in the Sacramento Valley, which is a very hot part of California. And as indicated, many people there still don't have air conditioning. It's a really great example, and perhaps the best example of what's possible when one works with nature in front of technology and overlaying a geometric order over natural systems. A couple of images. The one image of the early, before the trees grew in, you can see the drainage swells where water was directed, and the fruit trees, the mature fruit trees on the right. So it becomes a really beautiful community. Some of the social benefits are people report more friends. There's a great story in a video of a little boy, a 10-year-old boy, talking about all the great places they can play, and also announcing that there's always fruit to eat during the year, and that he knows that pomegranates are in season in December, which I think is a really beautiful goal of what our cities can be. In closing, some other lessons from ancient cities: Persian wind cooling towers for natural ventilation and natural cooling, wind catchers from India that are oriented to increase ventilation for passive cooling, Native American communities in the Southwest that use cliffs for shading the structures. And then one of my personal favorites of a design of a Roman building that clocked the movement of the sun throughout the day, and the sun would shine through an oculus, lighting up the niches. And that's it. So inclusion, I am convinced, and I believe that by working with nature, we can build communities that are more efficient, more cost-effective, and more resilient by working with nature. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carl, for your amazing presentation. As always, super insightful and very much a thought-provoking presentation, especially with the visuals. Now, when we think about future cities, many of us have this picture of, this massive agglomerations, full with skyscrapers. Everything is, glass buildings. So what you have in very much like high technology. High technology, it's really like what many people see. We see it in all types of sensors. We talk about resilience. Now, resilience has many facets, many dimensions, whether we talk about food resilience, water resilience, energy resilience, extreme weather. Now we are in the beginning of the heat waves here in Europe, especially in Switzerland. So we are looking forward to some cozy 2 weeks where we're gonna sweat a little bit, the feeling how it's gonna be with higher temperatures. So it's very an interesting environment where a lot of factors are coming in, and we need to be able to connect the dots and use the best technology. Now, Bernardo, would you, as the owner and the idea father of Smart City Expo in Americas, bringing all these people with different solutions, whether it's more nature-based or more technological, And also for you, Carl, I would just have a few questions for you. Also, we have some comments in the chat already. So let's maybe take them one by one, and let's do our best to answer the most we can with the remaining time. So let's start with the first one. When we talk about future cities, maybe let's start first with Bernardo answering the question, and then let's go to Carl, if that is okay for you, gentlemen. Great. So when we talk about future cities, what are the elements of future cities that you see of high importance they should be equipped with? And let me, please, Bernardo.
Okay. Carl talk about very interesting things that we need to learn from the past to redo our cities. So when you look, for example, Manhattan today, there are 27 whole buildings vacant, office buildings. Okay. And the reason for that is that during the 2 years that everybody was at home, everything, they learned that if you stay at your home, it's better in terms of environment than in the buildings. The buildings they open windows, for example, okay, air conditioner all the time. Beside of that, you need to, in terms of mobility, you need to go to the downtown and things like that. So we need to build better. To build better, we need to look in the past. Okay, we have examples. For example, in Miami, where Miami downtown, you have glass, of course, concrete, asphalt, and flooding because they build a lot, and because of that, you don't have the water. Is you cannot reuse the water. Okay, and so we have challenges to look for the future. We need to build, of course, sustainable. We need to use different kind of materials. We need to have a different kind of a design, and we have some examples with the cow presentation. We need to take in consideration that we don't need more cars. Everybody's talk about electric cars, okay? But when you look to manufacture the battery, for example, for the electric car and the huge environment impact, there is no reason for that. So we need to have cities built for citizens. We need to take in consideration the kids because today, for example, I'm talk about the situation here in US, but also I learn what's happening in Europe. That we need to come back because in the past the kids used to be and to play in the streets. Today is impossible because big cars, 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 cars. We need to have pet for bikes. So the future should be something more sustainable, more human being friendly, not car friendly, like our culture is doing right now. Okay, so we need a big change in terms of how to build the cities and how to build the houses. Of course, the offices, but with different kind of materials. We are going to have a presentation in the Smart City Expo Miami this year from architect from Stockholm about the wood city. They are planning and they are starting to build already the wood city. So we need to use different kind of materials. Here in West, they are starting very slow building what they call mass timber, and we have a few structures with 4 floors. Okay, in Canada, they already built a 10 floors building with mass timber. So we need to change. to change this, we need to change codes, because the code here don't allow to use wood, for example. Okay? So that's my perspective, that we need to change everything. We need to talk and to show to architects, urban planners, city officials, and of course the whole community, that we need a big change. To do that, my contribution is to build the Smart City Expo Miami, and to have, for example, yourself here with us, to bring new ideas, like, for example, bamboo. Okay? Bamboo is more important, in more, let's say, in terms of a structure. I saw different structure using bamboo is more strong than steel, if you put as a structure. So we need to change, and we need to be in this movement, like yourself, like Carl, so that bring new ideas.
Thank you so much, Bernardo, for sharing this. And also regarding bamboo, I mean, I would love to invite you for our coming session, which is going to be, actually this week with Mauricio Cardenas. It's an architect based in Italy. He specialized in multi-story building with bamboo. So quite an interesting topic. Maybe also for you as a technology, it would be interesting. For those of us that exactly, we see some comments already on bamboo, quite an interesting material, but we have also pros and cons, so we were also on this bamboo expo, where also a great very knowledgeable community of people from universities gathered, and it's very important to stay transparent, be transparent with the studies, with the results, be optimistic, but still challenge each other in a constructive way. So with this, I would say, Carl, what about yourself? Would you maybe share with us what is your perspective on the elements of a future city? What are kind of the elements that you say, yes, we need to have this, we need to implement this? And if you can share with us also, what are the biggest challenges to implement, or the biggest changes to implement, and why is it difficult? Why is it going to be maybe a little bit more difficult to get them through? Bernardo mentioned already some standards, some codes. What do you think about this? And greetings also to Andres Cordoba Tejada, where we're going to for sure talk more about this hybrid buildings and using different materials. So Carl, that was a long-winded question. If anything, I repeat it. Please. Carl, eventually you are on mute. Now.
Can you? So much to be said there, but I'm just going to try to focus on this question about what's essential for our future cities, and which is, as I indicated in the presentation, reducing our carbon footprint or greenhouse gas emissions, and making the most of our resources. And for me, and this is the powerful lesson of passive solar-oriented design or natural systems, is again because it's abundantly clear that the most efficient buildings are buildings that work with nature, are oriented to the sun. But the idea, for me, the principle of natural systems is the building shell is an energy system. So a passive building, the windows collect heat in the winter, and the roof shades the building in the summer. So just those simple design solutions, when implemented, and I all for some innovation, but we can do that now, and by doing that, buildings can instantly be 50% better than buildings that rely on technology and energy for cooling. So that for me, the first principle is designing our buildings like the buildings in ancient cultures, where cooling towers and ventilation systems are built into the design. So as opposed to today, we make buildings um, without any thought about the local environment, and we rely on a machine to heat and cool it. So I think that so for a big start would be to really incorporate the thinking of the building envelope as an energy system. And an important value to that is, okay, if we're going to use concrete, which for the foreseeable future we are, and there's some really great innovations in low carbon or carbon negative concrete, but that concrete is not just for structure, but it can be used as a battery, a thermal mass for storing heat to both heat and cool a building. And so on and on. So windows are not just something to look out of, but windows are like Socrates said 3,000 years ago, windows can be used to collect heat in the winter. And so buildings, the parts of the building can be designed to function as an energy system. And so that's, I hope that makes sense. But also, I do really like what Bernardo said, is that we put people over cars, as long as we don't impose human-centric ideas about geometry and perspectival thinking over nature, but humans without technology. I'm not opposed to technology, but we have to rethink how we use technology, work with nature, maximize the building efficiency with nature, and use technology thoughtfully, is my thinking.
Thank you. Hope you can hear me well. We have, as mentioned, a little bit of a technical, thing here going on, but yeah, definitely agree. I mean, what strongly resonates with me, Carl, is the nature connected element always. Also, many things that mentioned Bernardo in his part of sharing your perspective on how future cities, what are the principles that you would like to see. As a mother, as a parent, absolutely with you when you talk about children. I mean, what is the space? I mean, now we're Europe, we live in a different space, like the broad streets in US, a little bit of a different approach. On top of that, you have many cities like Brussels and Spain and Amsterdam, of course, that are testing many new approaches or new zones or rezoning. So quite an interesting thing, but also it's a big challenge for people to kind of digest the type of the change, because many see it also a little bit of as a change in their life standard, mobility changes, etc. So the alternatives. That's why I really see the value of such an event as the Smart City Expo is bringing people with innovative solutions that make it attractive to change mobility, to slow down, to take another mode of transport. Preferring it basically to taking your car, one person, and spending your time in the traffic. So it's really something that resonates strongly with me. Of course, edible cities, a big element. Love that, absolutely. Always an experience when you see something like that in real. And when going to that, we also talked a little bit about the standards. Now, Carl, you mentioned passive solar, windows to collect energy. Also, you have a lot of solutions now. We're kind of figuring out how to combine it, and what we can all implement also to be resilient against the weather. I would just maybe put it in that direction. How you have also, Bernardo, a very strong network in terms of municipalities and majors coming to the event. What is the role of government? How can government kind of endorse, enable, kind of empower also architects and the community to collaborate more? If you can share maybe also an experience or perspective on that, Bernardo and Carl.
Okay. uh, we need educational process to change things. Okay. So when we talk about technology, technology is very important as a tool. But to use the technology, we need to educate people. We need to educate people. Beside of that, we need to interact with the communities to learn what they need. There was one project for a kind of a neighborhood that start with the Google to build in Canada. Okay, and would be something interesting because everything should be with wood to build it with wood. But suddenly, the community found that with sensors and all the controls that the city supposed to have, okay, the community was against this project, and this project died. This is real. So we need to balance the use of technology in benefit to the citizen, to the community, and not to control the community, not control citizen. Okay. So when you go to London, for example, London has the most cameras in the world. Okay. And from the cameras, you can control everybody. This is not the way that we are looking for our future because we need to have a health and nice environment and free environment, of course, with respect, but free environment. So we need to educate people. To educate people, we start in school. That's why we bring to our event the universities, colleges, faculty, students, okay, for them to learn what is happening worldwide and what is the best options for us in terms of a community. We need to educate health professionals, and we cannot rely only on artificial intelligence. Okay, artificial intelligence is coming now. We need to use as a tool. Probably in the future we are going to learn more how to use it. Okay, I saw in my trip to Taipei this year that they are using AI in smart city design. Okay, I saw, and it works very well. But they have some kind of ethics, and some kind of regulaments, standards to control how far AI goes. Okay, and I saw also the application of AI in healthcare. But we need to understand that education should be our most important thing. If we have citizens, communities, city officials educate to how we need to live together in the best way, in terms of mobility, in terms of quality of life, in terms of health, wellness, then I think we are going to accomplish something. If we focus only in technology, uh, I think it's like just a business. It don't is going to solve what we need in terms of human being. Okay, that's my perspective.
Thank you. Carl, would you like to maybe share with us?
Uh, oh, these such important questions. Um, yeah, just to piggyback onto what Bernardo said, um, my thinking about technology is with caution because I believe if one reads history well, we have been putting our faith in technology for a long time and often get bit in the butt by the technology because it doesn't always work like we want. And we also are learning that if we rely on too much technology, then when the power is out, the technology, the systems are not there. So for me, it's another reason why building the energy system into the envelope of the building. So a passive solar building will heat and cool itself with or without power, with or without machines working. And the metaphysical or spiritual part of that is that a lesson from I've learned that the decisions you make to make a building more energy efficient necessarily connects people to nature, which I think is a large part of what our modern world is missing, is a deep connection to nature. To the question about education, and I'm old enough to have I went to college in the late 70s, early 80s, and there really was tremendous amount of work done in the 60s and 70s in making buildings more energy efficient. And that's the birth of the beginning of modern solar-oriented design. And those principles, which got, at least in America, got forgotten about in the 80s and 90s because cheap oil got cheap and Ronald Reagan changed the energy policies of America. But those principles from professors I had and really great work done across the world in these natural systems, they still produce buildings that are 2 and 3 times more efficient than building sort of standard green building principles that are promoted by our industry. To me, this is the evidence is, and I'm happy to share with people who are interested. I have a list of the best buildings. And again, if you show me a building, the only buildings that are 60% better than normal, and particularly don't cost more to build, which makes it affordable and accessible, are buildings that work with nature and oriented to nature and oriented to the sun. So there are no buildings that use modern technology only that are 80% better than normal. They're just not there. So that's my challenge. So, and to be ornery, I'm a little skeptical of mass timber, and we can talk about that another time. But the mass timber relies on a timber industry that has no friend to the climate or to the planet, and adhesives that are petroleum based and often toxic. So yes, wood can be good, but we have to find better adhesives that are not toxic. That's my a little tidbit there. But a big question about mass timber.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we already have a few comments if you manage to see them through the chat popping up. So let's maybe take 2 of them. The topic of cross-laminated timber, cross-laminated bamboo, very interesting, and certainly, a lot of perspectives to connect, and it's always a great exchange. And this is why I value when we meet in such a combination, like, for example, today, and also looking at who's following the stream, having different perspectives, because it's only at that moment where we can really transparently share knowledge, exchange, and kind of make the best possible proposals and solutions really work. Otherwise, we just, kind of push a perspective that is just very, very kind of single angled. So let's just kind of read out the comments that we kind of also can reflect on them. So one of them, thank you, Philip, for sharing your thoughts on this. The options are there. It is just that industrialists fear a change, or it takes so much investment. How about as profit goes above people? Is it that way? Sadly. What do you think about this? And then we have one more. Carl, would you like to start this time yourself?
So that's a great point. It's sorry to always talk about solar-oriented design, but I think one of the hurdles for solar-oriented design, which produces buildings and cities that are I think of it as the most distributed energy system, because every building is an energy system. Nobody makes money on it. There's no way to concentrate wealth. First point. And the second point is the fact that this list of buildings that are 80% better than normal, which exceed contemporary modern approach to green design, many of these buildings are done for the same cost, and that is absolutely essential. My profession sorry, has created this idea that sustainability is important, but it costs more, and we are not going to save our place on the planet if green design is a luxury and only affordable by top universities and the top 1% of the population. It has to be affordable. And so, again, this is a good solar-oriented natural system design building exceeds many standards in performance, but without increasing construction costs. Absolutely essential. So I totally agree with Philip's point.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Carl. I would continue. Bernardo, would you like to maybe add your perspective? Then we have one more comment and we would close the call for today.
Is that the things change, because when you look as an architect, urban planner, the tool that you use to design is the CAD. But the CAD was developed for machines, not for buildings. And suddenly they adapt to design buildings. Bon. So this is one thing that instead of using CAD, we need to use a different way. Bon. Then we need to look about nature-based solutions. And there is one example. Bangkok, for example, they overbuilt. They used to have channels, and they closed the channels and they built on the top. Suddenly, the city started sinking. And because of that, they start having problems. Bon, one urban architect, urbanist from Jakarta, she came with one idea. She created a design, and they built a big square with a big swimming pool below. Okay, they changed the inclination of the streets in 3%. Okay, so the whole water, when it's raining, hurricanes, whatever, comes and goes direct to this big swimming pool, and they reuse the water. Because of that, the city is not sinking anymore. So we need to come with ideas using the natural. We need to come with talk about insulation or air. We need to use what the past used to use, like Carl showed to us. And we need to move in a different direction. Well, it's tough to do this because of the codes. Okay. Here in Miami, for example, we have sometimes, unfortunately, hurricanes. And in the past, they used to build the houses using wood, 2 floors. Okay. In 1992, last century, there was the Hurricane Andrews and destroy all the south of Miami in these houses in wood. And they changed the code, and then you cannot use wood anymore. Okay. But if you use mass timber, it's possible to do, but you cannot change the code. Beside of that, you have the pressure from the industry, because they produce steel, they could produce cement, concrete, glass, and everything looks like that. We come back and let's use nature-based solutions. That's what we can do from now. Okay.
Thank you very much, Bernardo, for your comment, and definitely agree. I mean, we had today a lot of, I would say, also kind of similar type of direction, which is going back to nature, utilizing what is available, kind of rediscovering the elements, and looking at also the climatic conditions and the events, the extreme weather events in particular. It becomes quite interesting to look at resilience, not only in the matter of like personal security, surveillance as what we see, but maybe use the sensors in a totally different way. We have thankfully we have also providers in the network and solutions that kind of help us track really the parameters that matter: humidity, temperature, that you can really, waste flows, etc., that you can optimize the elements which may build another level environmental resilience for cities, besides crime, etc. However, there are also interesting studies that confirm that, and I think in your example, Carl, from the neighborhood in Americas from the 70s, there was reported a reduction in the crime level. That's basically everywhere where you have green spaces. As soon as the area is more covered in green, which is a kind of very interesting element, the crime rate is reported to be reduced. So this is, maybe we can pull up the study and share it in the comments after the call. We are slightly over time, so with this, I hope it's okay for everybody. We still have some comments going on. Thank you so much, Diego, for your valuable contributions. Philip, as well to anybody looking or watching still the replay. Sunil, Diana, thanks a lot also for sharing with us your thoughts. Mansurwo as well. Greetings to everybody, and I would suggest see you on the next one. We will share definitely the link to join Smart City Expo in the comments after the event, so look for it in the comment section. Carl also was so kind to share some link for the Indian water wells, so it's more maybe also an inspiration for those of you that would like to have a look on that one. And also a little bit of a teaser, there will be more communication on Smart City Expo, the presentations. Mr. Carl Welty is going to be presenting as well on the topic. I like to also be on the event and present a little bit more on the sensoric topic and the environmental resilience. And we will also do a little session with Mr. Carl Welty on retrofits on natural ventilation systems. For those of you that maybe would like to rely on the building itself rather than on technology that is vulnerable to many different aspects, I definitely invite you, and please stay tuned for more on that. So with this, I would thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking your time, being here today with us, and see you on the next one.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you, Bernardo.
Thank you.